Hey guys, want to welcome everybody to a special edition of the Better Man 365 podcast. And this is actually something new we're trying. We're calling this the Better Man 365 Conversations. And so we have a great friend and special guest here tonight, Jason Stoughton, who's with John Maxwell's organization. And we're going to have a conversation tonight about Jason's story and just his journey to being a part of the Maxwell team and everything that they're doing. And we also want to tell you about a special event that's coming up this Saturday in Orlando. If you're in the area, we want to make a way for you to be able to attend that event at a discounted, reduced rate that we'll also want to make you guys aware of. But before we get into that, I just want to welcome Jason onto the broadcast tonight. Jason, how you doing?
I'm doing good, brother. Good to see you, Marcus, and thanks for the opportunity to link in with you guys here this evening.
Of course, of course. Jason, could you just tell us a little bit about what you do with the Maxwell organization?
Yes, it's a unique blend of several things, but ultimately the last several years have been around just advancing leadership and the transformational values that really had transformed my life and are going around the world today. So there's been partnerships that I've been a part of through different avenues and different streams of influence. There's also been some signature events that I've helped oversee for John and Mark Cole, our CEO, and some unique initiatives across our enterprise. So there's been a lot of different things I've had my hand in because my story really has bits and pieces of everything that we do in terms of transformation, whether it's leadership development or it's bringing values-based, people-centric servant leadership practices and principles into the marketplace, into schools,
Yeah.
and into countries and communities all over the world.
And Jason, I just want to take a moment to park on your story for a little while because when you and I met a couple months ago, and we were talking about how we could help each other's organizations, how the Maxwell organization can help Better Man with our event that's going to be coming up later this year, but also how we could help you guys, with your event that's coming up in Orlando on Saturday. Um, I was intrigued when I started hearing some of the just some of the journey that you went through and the story behind how you even got involved with the Maxwell organization. And I was so gripped by it that I said, "Man, we've got to get you in front of our audience so that you could, share your own testimony, your own story of how you got here." And so, could we just take a few minutes to walk through that story and your journey from when you were a teenager all the way through, to where you are now?
Absolutely, and everybody does have a story. One of my favorite quotes is from actually Mr. Rogers. It's actually not his quote. It's a quote that he picked up many, many years prior, probably before anybody heard his name on public television. But he sat across the table at a lunch with a social worker in Chicago, and she told him something that he wrote down. He kept in his wallet for over 30 years. And I remember many, many years ago when I heard that quote, it resounded with me because it helped me actually step inside my story and own it instead of standing outside of my story and my life experience struggling for my worthiness.
Mm,
And that quote is, it's impossible not to love someone once you take the time to get to know their story. And
mm,
so my story is not to bring attention to me. It's not a place that I want to park and stay, but it is a place that I think that we can draw common ground from because we all in life have our crosses to bear. We all face adversity. We all go through certain things that we don't deserve. And then there's also things that we invite into our lives because of bad choices and decisions and our associations. But as a kid, I was born in the Midwest. I moved to Georgia kicking and screaming when I was 12. 2 days before my 13th birthday, my parents divorced. And then about a little over a year later, my dad had taken a job outside the country working in Puerto Rico. And so I was living with my mom and my sister, younger sister, and we were faced daily with a lot of dysfunction, a lot of abuse, a lot of
Mm.
neglect. Sister ended up moving out and moving in with several different families. I stayed with my mom because I just discerned that if I left too, that my mother would probably have a very short life experience. And even though I didn't agree with her choices, she was an alcoholic and an addict. She was on prescription medication and recreational drugs and battled mental health challenges all her life and introduced me to some of not so good of men that took advantage of her, abused her, and then ultimately abused me. And so,
And you were
uh,
13 at the time when some of
yeah,
this started, is that right?
yeah, yes, sir.
So
I was
take so
13.
really taking on a lot of that responsibility really for, you know, and be almost being forced to grow up at a very young age.
Yeah, I mean, it was, my dad was sending child support checks and my mom, I never saw any of it. My mom was
Mm.
either working or she was out doing whatever. And I had to get a job at 13 and I worked from 13 all my life. I was working 30 hours a week bagging groceries or being a stock boy at a local convenience store. And sometimes didn't have a ride home, so I'd have to walk home 2
Wow.
miles and then get up in the next morning and catch a ride to school. But I was also battling a pituitary disease that actually went undiagnosed until 16 days before my 21st birthday. So I looked around and there was no men in my life. My dad was my hero and he was gone. And obviously I internalized that as not just rejection, but that I didn't matter, that I
Mm.
didn't have any value. And being succumbed and introduced to some unbelievable life experiences that no child should see, much less be a part of, I began to buy into the lie that my life was a mistake. Nobody loved me, and
Yeah.
nobody cared. So that's where I found myself, and then struggling obviously with development. My pituitary gland to this day doesn't work; it's inactive, and so there was the challenges there of going through adolescence, which I never did. Didn't go through puberty until I was 21 years old,
Wow.
and had to navigate life that way. And everywhere I looked around, everybody seemed to be happy. Everybody seemed to be going life changes, and there I was stuck in a 12-year-old's body until I was 21 years old. But at 14, I had planned on actually committing suicide that summer. That was the summer before I went into high school, and I strategically had been pilfering my mother's prescription sleeping pills and hiding them under the mattress in my bed. And my goal that summer was to get 30 pills. I thought, well, if
Mm.
one will put you to sleep, 30 will probably put you in the dirt, and nobody will care. Nobody will really miss me. And so that was my goal that summer. And about 2 weeks shy of getting those 30 pills, I was in the back seat of my mom's car. I rode in the back because there was always abuse, if not physical, emotional, and mental. Um, I did not want to be within reach of my mom because many times I would roll out of the car at a stop sign, hitchhike home, or walk home. And so I sat in the
Wow.
back seat a lot and she couldn't reach me. And we were actually, believe it or not, on our way to a church that morning. And I
Mm.
was obviously judging my mother the entire time. And
Yeah.
she turned it on a radio station that was a Christian radio station at that time out of here at Atlanta. And it was the Joy FM 93.3. And little did I know that I had a date with destiny that morning. I heard a word in due season. I know what that is exactly like and what it feels like to have that peripatia moment. And that's just a Greek word that means turning point
Mm.
or an awakening.
Yeah.
Um, and that's what I heard that day. And
How old were
I had
you at
no
that point?
14. I was
Okay.
14. And I didn't know who the guy was on the radio, but I just caught caught myself leaning in and being intrigued and my heart being milked by everything that he was saying at that time. And It's an
Mm,
emotional experience. I go back there when I think about it
mm,
because we all have, I think, these moments in our life that if we don't pay attention to them, we can miss it. And
yeah,
that morning, I didn't miss it. We got to the
yeah.
church and I didn't get out of the car. I stayed there and had my first conversation with the creator of all that is and asked for help
Mm,
and wanted to believe what I had just heard about my potential, about hope, about God's plan for everybody's life, and to be able to try to see my picture in the vision that he had for me personally came together at one moment in time. And that person that was speaking on the radio that day happened to be John Maxwell when he was pastoring the Skyline Wesleyan Church in San Diego, California. It
that's
was at
right.
10:30, and
Mm,
I began to reflect and think differently. I began to look at life differently. I began to buy into what I was hearing, and every Sunday at 10:30, I listened to John Maxwell, and, if there wasn't a radio working in the house, I would walk across the street and sneak into my neighbor's barn, turn on
mm,
their little resistor radio in the barn, climb up in the hayloft, and I would listen to John Maxwell.
wow. How long did that sort of distant mentoring take place in your teenage years?
Throughout my entire teenage years.
Wow.
My 15th birthday, I told my grandfather, he asked me what I wanted, and I said, "I wanna join this, Enjoy Life tape club, of John Maxwell's," and he didn't know what that was or what that meant, and I just gave him the telephone number, and he called it, and then every month for several years, I would get these little pink cassettes in the mail, once a month, and I would listen to them and go through the little work booklets, and then I would reflect on my life. And so, as I was, as I was not growing on the outside, the irony was I was getting bigger on the inside, and
Wow.
everything began to change for me because I began to think differently.
Wow. So talk to me about, here you are having to grow up a lot faster than you really should have as a young teenager. But then your pituitary gland's not working, so you're not developing physically. But you're also dealing with all this dysfunction around you externally. You don't have a father figure in your life. One can only assume based on your story so far that the really it was John Maxwell who became your father figure for those number of years. Would that be accurate to say?
That's 100%. I mean, he was my father figure and my spiritual father and my mentor for many, many years until I was
Wow,
able to bridge that gap, with my earthly father and pursue him the way that Jesus was pursuing me, and end up having the best relationship with my dad the last 25 years of his life.
that's
That
a
was
that's amazing. Can you unpack that a little bit? Just so you're 15 years old. You've been listening to John Maxwell now for a couple of years. What happens next? At what point do you meet your dad?
Well, my dad, he would give me the opportunity to actually fly to Puerto Rico and
Okay.
see him, for a week or 2, and,
Oh, so it's not that you didn't have a relationship with him at all. It's just that it was very distant because of the circumstance of you know your life situation and so forth.
yeah, I mean, my dad was, I equated that to, obviously, he chose another life stance and opportunity over me when I needed him the most. And so he wasn't the most conversational guy in the world, but he was a fantastic man even then. But I was waiting on him to come to me because I needed that guidance. And I didn't hear from him. I didn't see him. And of course, as a young person, you begin to really unpack that. And when you have silence, you fill it with stuff. And
Yeah,
so as
yeah,
a young person, I filled it with some things that didn't serve me well even attempting to have a relationship with my dad as a young person during that season of life. But I did see him periodically. It wasn't often, but I did, and he would call every once in a while. But realistically, when you're alone and your dad's not there, he's somewhere else when he
Yeah.
could and should be there with you. You just begin to drift away from hoping for the best in that situation. You just begin to accept it, and so that's what I did. But I began to learn from John and rely on him from afar and apply these
So
principles and practices to my life, and believe that he had belief in me, even though he'd never met me before. And so I began to borrow that belief that he had in me.
so as you kept growing and developing as a young man, spiritually, emotionally, and receiving, just kind of being poured into by Maxwell's teaching every month. Um, what was the journey to eventually joining the Maxwell organization, and how did that transpire?
Yeah, I mean, every opportunity that I could get, I actually didn't know what to do with my life. Straight out of high school, I got a job at Chick-fil-A because I fell in love with how I felt when I walked into the Georgia Wrestling State High School banquet. They sponsored it, and I met Dan Cathy and Truett and Bubba Cathy for the first time. Had no idea who they were. Had never really heard of Chick-fil-A. I'd seen it in the malls, as a young person every once in a
Yeah.
while, but I didn't understand anything about it other than their chicken sandwich. And I came into the room after winning a state championship at 103 pounds, and um, I received a plaque. And I remember sitting down at the table and seeing a carnation on every table, and some of the things they said. So I out of high school, went to a grand opening of this. I think it's the second Chick-fil-A freestanding unit in ever, and I got hired there. And I just immersed myself into an environment that I knew aligned with what I wanted to do and who I wanted to become in life. And so those values that I had been learning from John, I was able to actually experience in a culture very similar to what I had been preparing myself and learning and
Yeah.
layering through the years. I
So you kind of
continued.
saw, so you sort of saw a connection between, here's what I've been learning, and now I'm actually seeing something that feels similar to this. So this feels right, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's an alignment there, and I'd heard about this, but now I was seeing it lived and fleshed out in reality. And I wanted
Yeah.
to be a part of that. And, having not gone through puberty and now I'm supposed to be an adult, everybody's going to college or whatever. I just thought if I'd keep myself in an arena where I could continue to grow, good things would happen to me. And so I kept learning from John. I read my first book cover to cover. It happened to be a book that he wrote. It was actually the first book that he wrote, called "Think on These Things," and
Mm.
that set me free. And I still
Wow.
have that book. I took my mom's pink highlighter and a ruler and a red pen, and I went through it and didn't realize that I was marking the book. And then when I went back and read it again, it marked me. And so I became a voracious learner and reader at that time, and fell in love and ended up began reading a lot of John's stuff that he was beginning to put out,
Yeah.
following him at certain locations where he spoke, and following him very closely through the Promise Keepers movement, hearing him speak for the first time. I remember looking up from the high seats there at the old Georgia Dome in Atlanta and watching thousands of men rush the stage and John
Mm.
stand on the corner and and really give a call to action for people in the same way that it did for me at 14, and impacted my life. And I remember saying, I want to do that. I wanna
Mm.
do that. I wanna be a part of that, and I stood up
Yeah.
there by myself and bawled my eyes out. And so every opportunity I had to, hear John or see him, it turned into, just being in that environment, getting close to the fire, and not living in excuses,
Yeah.
but really chasing that person that I wanted to become and get as close to that as possible. And so I ended up going to Bible college in Texas, in Dallas, Texas, because John was a pastor In the same year I went to Bible college, John moved from San Diego to Atlanta, and so there was some uniqueness of that and irony in that. But when I came back shortly thereafter, graduating, I ended up, doing some stuff in ministry, some ministry work, and then I got involved in a business venture where John had partnered with the founder of the company for a year-long leadership program, and that's what I did. And I got around John personally often during that season of my life. And so every opportunity I had, I was there. And John would actually even see me at some events and go, "Didn't I just see you in Dallas?" And I go, "Yes,
Yeah.
sir." He says, would say, "What are you doing here?" And I go, "I'm learning from the best, sir." And so he would sign my book, but I'd never made a big deal about it. And I never had a motivation for anything other than wanting more of what I was getting from him.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it became more personal to me at that point. And when he released the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, and shortly thereafter, the 17 Indispensable Laws of Teamwork, two of the most successful leadership books that have ever been written. He
Yeah.
did some teaching on it and was in Atlanta. And I am on the front row, and you can pull up those old YouTube videos and get a good kick out of it. But there I am sitting on the front row of him teaching each law. And so, you can either see the problems or you can see the possibilities. You can make the obstacles an excuse or the reason. And I eliminated every excuse because I wanted to continue to get better, because I had learned that growth today is the only guarantee that tomorrow would get better. And that's why I began to want to wake up in the morning instead of putting myself in a permanent dirt nap where I missed out on everything that God wanted me to do with my life.
I think one of the things that I find most interesting and inspiring about your story is that even at the age of 14, you heard something that really struck you and you stuck with it and you disciplined yourself to continue to pursue that. The decision to wake up at, and go after that at 10:30 in the morning every Sunday at such an early age is really special because I mean, I can't think of most people in that situation who would find themselves in the dysfunctional situation that you were in. They would really see that as an opportunity or as an excuse to make the wrong decisions. And
Yeah.
the fact that you would choose to invest, in your purpose, in your destiny, knowing that there was something greater, even at that young age, is just really. I mean, I just really commend you for that, and just so honor you for that journey and for making those decisions to continue that pursuit. Because even in our older age, as men, the circumstances that we face, the things that we're in, the struggle that we're going through, oftentimes becomes our scapegoat for whatever poor decision we're going to end up making, to just
Mhm.
kind of give in or give up. And so that's one of the big takeaways for me out of your story is that, man, um, the resources out there, the answers are out
Yep.
there.
Yep.
God's providing a way. Sometimes it
Yep.
just takes us to make that decision, to step into those things, to pursue those opportunities, to sit under those people, those mentors, those people that can speak into our life. And so that's really powerful. And so in the same way that you would be sitting there learning from John, this Saturday is an amazing opportunity for people to learn from John in Orlando and from some other great speakers. Can you tell us a little bit about Day to Grow?
Yeah, absolutely. I've had the privilege of helping put together some events for John over the years, as I mentioned, and be around some incredible team members that exceed expectations, which is one of the core values. Is the performance of Maxwell leadership. Nobody pays for average. Nobody accepts mediocrity from anybody else, but so often we settle for it. And average is so easy to achieve because the bar is so low, right? But I have the opportunity to link up with some unbelievable people that have been assembled there, that know how to put on an event, but bring in the right people to help move the needle for people personally. So, this Saturday is an event in Orlando at the Orlando World Grand Marriott, the largest Marriott in the world. And we have the chance to meet and engage with a very impressive lineup of
Yeah.
industry leaders and experts
Coach
this
Prime's going to be
Saturday.
there. It's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Deion Sanders, Jess Ekstrom. I mean, Tim Story, Jamie Kern Lima, Dr. John Deloney, and of course, your friend, my mentor, your mentor, John Maxwell. So it's an unbelievable day
Yeah,
that people can come be a part of, even though it's 2 days away, and show up and leave better than they came. And so I tell people all the time, you can have excuses or reasons, but you can't have both. A lot of people complain about where they're at in life, but they accept life and do nothing about it.
yeah,
So here's an opportunity to have that peripateia moment that I spoke of, that intersected my life. And if you're looking to grow and get better, have more, do more in life, you have to become more first. And this is one
that's
of the
right.
ways where you can actually borrow experience and then turn right around and tie it to action
That's right.
to get closer to the results that you're looking for. And that's what life is all about. We test, we fail, we learn, we improve, and then we re-enter. That's what's supposed to happen, but often we drift off to a destination that we are not supposed to be at because we accept life as it comes rather than leading our life with intentionality. And so
Yeah,
I challenge everybody there. On your behalf, because of this incredible movement and ministry that you guys are a part of. We're giving people the opportunity to take advantage of this at a discount because of what you guys are doing. And I encourage everybody to check it out, sow seeds of success into themselves first, because we can't give what we don't have, and be in the room. Look me up, get my number. I'll come meet you and introduce you to some unbelievable people that you can do life with moving forward, because growth happens best when it does happen in community with other people.
awesome. Well, guys, daytogrow.com is the URL. I think the link is here on this live broadcast. Somewhere around the broadcast or in the comments, you should be able to click on daytogrow.com. Daytogrow.com. The discount code for your 20% off registration is Betterman365 altogether. Betterman365 altogether. And man, I just hope that those who are listening and watching are able to take advantage of this great opportunity and to attend the event this coming Saturday to see John Maxwell, Coach Deion Sanders, and just the other rest of the amazing lineup that you guys have. But Jason, thanks so much for telling us your story and just being with us tonight and inspiring us with your testimony. I mean, it's just an amazing journey you've been on. I'm inspired by you and just really honor you for the amazing journey you've been on and the wonderful work that you're doing now in partnership with everybody else there at the John Maxwell organization. So
Well,
thank you for being with us tonight, and thanks for this opportunity.
yep. Thank you. And all I'll say as I close is that I learned from John that people change when they hurt enough that they have to, or they learn enough that they want to, or they receive enough that they're inspired enough to be able to. And so
Mm,
wherever you're at in life, I encourage you, if you can be there that day, it'll be an unbelievable day that you'll be glad you were a part of. So thank you guys for the opportunity and for the alignment and values and for the impact that you're having on many, many men's lives.
awesome. Thank you, Jason. And again, it's this coming Saturday, guys, so don't miss it. Datagrow.com, 20% off. Betterman365 is the code. And man, thank you so much, Jason. So we'll see you soon. Okay.
You got it, brother. Thank you.